Okay, I have 4:07 and I'll call the meeting to order. Quorum. Should we do a roll call or are we good?
Oh. Why don't we count the vote on the minutes by roll call as the attendance?
Okay.
Why don't I go ahead with a quick script read here, Henry?
Yep, go ahead, Mary.
So this open meeting of the Town Area Plan Workgroup is being conducted remotely pursuant to Chapter 20 of the Acts of 2021 and is being held by a video conference by the Zoom app as posted on the town's website, identifying how the public may join. Please be aware other people may be able to see you and take care not to share your device's screen. Anything you broadcast may be captured by the recording. And this meeting will feature public comment if there are any members of the public who wish to speak, I suppose. And that's probably all we need to say.
Yep, it's more than I said the last time.
Thank you, Mary.
All right. Approval of agenda. Anybody got any additions?
Henry, the agenda was very generic, but
I've tried to keep it that way.
I know, but I presume that at some point, new, old, and other business, we'll talk about filling the vacancy.
That's the first thing I want to do, yes.
Okay, and then forward progress. Mary Ann gave us a sequence of questions. We're going to need them from the other groups. And we also should perhaps do a timeline when we start to have each subgroup draft its submission to the plan. No rush, but we ought to consider how it's going to go.
I agree. Okay, all those in favor of the agenda?
Do you want to do a
Lee?
roll call, Henry? Yeah.
Yeah, I will. Lee,
Aye.
Mary,
Aye.
Mary Ann,
Aye.
and Marcia,
Aye.
and me, aye. And that's all we got, unless somebody's snuck in.
I don't see anybody.
Yeah, all right. So that passes. Approval of the draft minutes from March 18th, 2022. Any discussion?
I will abstain from that vote since I wasn't present at the meeting.
Okay. Anybody else? Okay, Lee,
Aye.
Mary abstains, I'm an aye, Mary Ann,
Aye.
and Marcia.
Aye.
Okay, that carries. Very good. I like that. Okay, discussion. We have to get a replacement for Allison.
No,
Liz.
Liz.
Yeah, for Liz. Going back to our original list, there's 3 names left. One is Diane Coombs, one is Bob Miklos, and the other one was Matt Fee. Before we had kind of ruled out Diane and Matt. Does anybody have anything to say about Bob?
I don't know him at all. Do you know anything about him?
No, other than he owns 16 Prospect.
He is a member of the Artists Association and also an architect. He has been working with Remain Nantucket with their Envision Resilience projects. So I am familiar with Bob Miklos.
And he submitted a fairly substantial resume when he applied.
Yes.
Yeah, I don't think we had it though.
Yeah, I also know him. So could you back up and just clue me in about, you said we've lost Liz and also Allison?
No,
No,
just Liz.
just Liz, that's all, so
So
far.
So I was working with Liz on natural and cultural resources. I don't know who her other team member was Mary. So I think Mary Ann and I should choose.
Okay,
I'm looking at the list. It's at the bottom of last meeting's minutes. Land use, Liz and Mary Ann Easley, and natural and cultural resources, Liz and Marcia Fader.
So what, tell me again, what was Mary Ann's?
Land use.
Land use.
And you did submit a report.
Yes, we have submitted a preliminary report.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Right, right. And so, and we also have done that preliminary.
Yeah.
So now, I guess my other question was with the three names, Henry, that you just gave, those were names that we are being requested to choose from?
we were originally, we don't really have to stick with it, I guess, if there's somebody else you want to discuss. Whatever we decide, I will take to Andrew and see if it's acceptable.
Let me also state that after our work group was formed, the Monomoy area also had a work group, and Don Hill Holgate was accepted as a member in that group. So if you wanted Matt Fee or Diane Coombs, I think that they could be considered to be available.
Okay. Anybody else?
Based on his expressions of interest, and they were substantial, I would suggest that we consider Bob Miklos.
That would not be my first choice.
Okay.
If I remember correctly, and I'm not trying to prejudice the discussion, but just remember what we said before, we had a little bit of a concern that there would be three architects with Marcia and Mickey and then Bob Miklos, and that might be an overweight for the size of our group. I think that was one of the considerations that we had originally.
Yeah.
I think that's a good one. But and so they have to be members like we are, they have to live in town, is that correct?
Live or work,
Oh, live or work.
or demonstrate a substantial interest.
Yeah.
Do they need to be year-round residents?
No.
No. Right. Or, I mean, and is there a way in which we want to choose according to the tasks that are left with Mary Ann and myself? In terms of expertise or interest? Is that?
That might be too complicated.
I'd just like to say that we're so far along in this process, it may be difficult for somebody to come in and make much of a contribution without starting from the beginning.
No, I agree. Originally, I wanted to give Liz enough time. I thought maybe she'd be back with us. But from her last email that she sent Lee, it doesn't look that way.
Yeah, she was fairly definitive. And speaking only for myself, having gone through some substantial medical issues, I found that staying with the committees, particularly on Zoom, kept me involved and was really quite beneficial. But each person has to make that decision for herself or himself.
Right. I don't know.
So is there a chance that we're making this decision too quickly without giving her adequate time to consider it?
I don't think so, Marianne, because
Okay.
I threw, as Henry said, I threw a note her way saying that we could work to accommodate it. It certainly worked for me. And she was fairly definitive, no.
Okay.
Procedurally, she is the only one who can withdraw herself from the committee. and she would have to submit that letter of resignation to the town in order for that seat to be considered vacant. So it should be, made official through the town administration, and they might have a say in how that seat is filled.
That would be interesting.
The question of residency reminded me that at one time, Wendy Hudson, Nantucket Bookworks, and Mitchell's, was very interested. And of course, she doesn't live in town, but she's got a substantial stake in town. And then nothing came of that. Mary Ellen, she was potentially to be recommended by NPEDC because I think she's a member of the commission.
Yeah, so let me correct something. I misstated that the town didn't appoint the members of this committee, the NPEDC did.
Yeah.
So forgive me for that red herring.
It's not a red herring. The NPEDC could be considered a part of the town.
In any case, the conversation at the NPEDC when they selected a representative for this meeting, Wendy was happy to not be the person who had to serve.
Okay.
And her business interests are not within the defined area for this town area plan.
You know that I have a
I know you do. Lee.
somewhat broader definition of our interests. And yes, there will be a separate plan for downtown, but because it so impacts us, I'm happy to lend support to that sibling group by us coming up with suggestions. Parking, for example.
Right.
It transcends the entire town area.
Is there a separate group for that?
Not been formed, but alluded to frequently.
Oh, because I thought early on that we thought, well, maybe we would move into that after we did this one. No.
There has been no decision that I'm aware of regarding the formation of a group for a downtown area plan. So nothing has been ruled in or ruled out.
Okay, what do we think of Diane?
Henry, this is a recorded public meeting. And
Yes.
I would simply say there may be better choices.
That's fine. Matt?
I mean, are we assuming that all of the three are ready and willing to serve on this?
That
Yes.
is something that I will find out.
Yeah.
They were at the time of formation, but time does pass.
Yes.
And in that time, Matt Fee has become a member of the NPEDC as the select board representative. So that's, again, just additional information.
Right.
Useful, thank you.
Is there someone that we can come up with to add to the list?
Marcia, I suspected that you were thinking of somebody, but
Well, I was really taken aback by, I mean, because I'm not prepared, but it's true that I would probably think about coming up with somebody, but I am, I'm concerned with Mary Ann's point about people coming on, and also that apparently it's really not been our choice as to who they were looking for, some other broader representation, right? So even if
Originally, we could not come up with enough people. So an ad was run and we had 7 people that responded to it.
You know, I guess I'd like to throw a name out, and I don't know if she'd be interested, but Trish Bridier who's a member of the town association and is a business owner downtown, even though she's not actively engaged in it anymore. I think she'd have a lot to contribute.
Yeah, I agree that I like the idea of somebody who has a business relationship with the downtown, and that's Matt and Wendy and Trish, correct? Because do we have anybody on that is connected to any business? It's just another perspective.
Yeah, the other suggestion would be a member from the lodging association. That was something that we had talked about on and off at the beginning. And so that would be both a business person and somebody who would be in the town area.
Right. Huh.
But have we got a candidate?
No, I don't think we had any names.
I don't either.
I just think, I guess I also would like to say and about Trish, she's retired now. So she probably has more time than she used to have.
Marion, I like your suggestion.
And you have a good point about time. It is now April. And so asking someone to join at this stage, at this time is a heavy lift to get.
Yeah.
It is. And it's possible that Andrew will say not to bother. I mean, we still
Yeah,
got.
I was wondering, do we have to fill the seat or should we just move on? And what we would have to do is find someone to replace the assignments that Liz had, but perhaps that's the easier way to go. I don't know.
Right. So, and I think it would also help if we were to ask somebody to know what that timeline is. Are we wrapping things up before the summer with a final kind of draft to present? Or
Which summer?
yeah. I know.
I think that part of our ambition was to have a survey, and that survey might need to go out in the summer timeframe so that we could get a full range of responses. And that would inform the draft that we submit to the MPDDC.
Right.
I would think if we did it for the month of June, we'd get a pretty good response. I mean, summer's gotten longer and longer. I saw a 4Runner at the grocery store this morning with Colorado plates. So
Yeah.
Texas at the bottom of the street.
You know, I mean, I think beyond the business aspect, it's just that I really welcome another perspective that's super creative, that thinks out of the box, because we're into so many old, long, heavy sort of issues. It's nice to have somebody who, and I don't know who that would be. I don't know, and I'm fine working. I did the work with Liz. We did a draft. As I mentioned before, we met with a few other organizations. So I'm okay myself and probably Mary Ann feels the same way with the existing work without having extra help.
okay. Lee, what do you think?
Blankly. An odd number is always useful if we ever have to have a vote. We are working very compatibly, though, consensually, and the word consensus comes from the simple consent, and we haven't voted on a lot of things, so we haven't needed to. So if we're going to vote, we need to fill to get an odd number. If we're happy with consensus, we could just stay as we are. I did double check, and as we've pointed out, Liz's assignments, at least for the drafts, were done. I can go either way. And Mary Ann, maybe you want to speak again in favor of Trish Bridier, because she has been a faithful attender of town association meetings.
I guess if I had to vote, I would vote first to not replace Liz, just because we're so far along. But if we're required to replace her, I just put forth Tricia's name because of what I've already mentioned, her having been a business owner, her being now really engaged in the town association. And if there's anybody I've ever known who could insert herself into the middle of something and be comfortable and make everybody else comfortable, she is that kind of personality.
Excellent. So if that's a vote, I would second it.
Okay. Henry, I think what you're hearing is advice to go to Andrew and say first choice is to reduce the size of the committee from 9 to 8, or work group from 9 to 8. If we are to stay at 9, we have a candidate.
If she's interested, yes.
Yeah.
Oh, yes. No, that would be step 2, and approach her to find out if she would be willing to join.
Okay, I will email Andrew tonight. See what he says. All right. Where do we want to go next?
Disneyland.
I was thinking Tahiti.
No way. I had a professional meeting in Disney World, at one of the hotels, and several of my colleagues brought their families, and one of the non-professional but nonetheless very, very intelligent people said, "I don't understand it. Everybody's standing in line and nobody's smiling. Nobody seems happy to be here. The kids are crying and fighting. Why would anybody want to do that?" I said, "Well, you know, it's Disney." I have a suggestion, Henry.
Go ahead, Lee.
We need to develop a time frame. I don't know that we should do it here. I think we've got elements of it. The survey in June, potential draft segments of the plan in July, August, depending upon when we get feedback. One of us perhaps should develop a draft timeline. I'm looking at you, Henry, to be put into an agenda so that it becomes part of the official discussion and dealt with at our next meeting.
Okay. I think we could do that. Has anybody been thinking about questions for the survey?
Yes.
Any questions for your questions?
Well, I just came up with 4 questions off the top of my head. I know they will, eventually there will be a larger survey and they'll have to be incorporated and therefore adjusted so that all the questions have a span where you can agree to disagree, you know. And so I just put out there the thoughts that were on my mind without having to come up with that continuum.
They looked good. They did look good. And it suggests to me a direct question to Mary Longacre. Can we come up with circulation questions?
Yeah, I think we can, Lee, and I apologize. I know you've asked me before. I'm getting to a more relaxed point in this year. So yes, let's get together on that. I also did have an email from Allison regarding the business aspect of the plan. suggesting that we get together and do some questions. So we can look forward to having those at the next meeting from both of those areas.
Okay, great.
Could you share the questions as they come in? I would find that helpful.
Oh, my, yes. Mary Ann, you sent your note to, do you mind if
I only sent it to you, Lee, because you had said send
Oh, okay.
questions to you, but feel free to share them with everybody.
Well, no, actually, so open meeting law would suggest that we not share information by email among all of us. So my suggestion would be send them to Henry as the chair. He can compile them onto the agenda for the next meeting and distribute them that way. It should not be back chatter.
Mary, I think that sending information does not offend the open meeting law. Making a decision does offend the open.
A discussion, and I think the sharing of questions in order to inform somebody is a very gray area.
Okay, I'll send them to Henry. And Henry will put them on the agenda.
We can do that. Okay, has anybody got anything else?
I was just going to tell everybody that the magic letters are OML, yet another set of initials. Mary knows, open meeting law.
And we got 4:34. Okay. Has anybody got anything else?
The only thing that I'm just wondering about, which is about whether, I know that we've been emailed copies of a master plan. Sorry about that. From Sconset, I think. I mean, it's something that I haven't looked at. I think I would just find it useful if we invited members of another master plan to come and meet with us on one of our meetings. I would just like to hear more about their process and kind of insights or stumbling blocks, or just I mean, myself, it's the first time I've worked on an area plan, so I just I think that's true for most of us, but
You're right there.
so I would just love to have some company of people who've been through it and could kind of listen to what it was like for them, or again.
I think that would be excellent. Although my one caution is that both Matticat and Sconset have very defined issues that they've been pursuing. For example, at town meeting, in Matticat, it was building height, the village, whatever it's called in zoning, the village overlay, residential village overlay. And they wanted all construction to be limited to 25 feet instead of 30. So keeping Matticat looking like Matticat has been very much in their center of attention. And I think we get similar sense and feelings from Sconset. Both have very strong local area associations. The Sconset Association is buttressed by the Sconset Trust. Matticat had two associations. They've just consolidated into one big one. I don't think it includes Fisher's Landing. nonetheless, they went through it. And so, yes, let's hear from them.
It's, if I remember correctly, Mickey worked on Brant Point, and I believe Liz worked on, might have been Midtown.
Yeah, Liz definitely worked on one.
Marcia, I've watched one of the Mattakit Area Plan Work Group meetings. They're available on YouTube, and you might want to do that as well. I thought it was very helpful to see them go through their process. The one in particular that I watched, they were talking about the process of creating the survey.
Yes. And so Mattakit's completed and Sconset's completed.
Mattakit's not complete, Sconset is.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's true. It would be really useful to look at one of the meetings, but it's probably went like us, on for 6 or 8 months. So it would be great to kind of catch somebody near the end, which I'm not sure that I'm feeling I'm near the end with mine, but anyway, it would, what the sense I get, which maybe is true or not, but that the Sconset group is a really tight, kind of cohesive group. And the downtown, I don't feel that. I mean, I feel that with all of us, and it's true about the consensus, but I feel like people there trying to save the look of Mattakit or save the look of Sconset. But to me, the reason Sconset and Mattakit are here is because of the downtown. And so I think that it's so important, the work that we're doing. So it would be great, whether it's the Sconset group and whether we invite them to join our next meeting. I don't know what you think are the possibilities.
It would depend on what kind of questions you have.
But Marcia, you might want to reach out individually to 1 or 2 of the members there and get a feel for what you would want to invite them to talk about at a meeting. Maybe that's a good first step.
Yeah, I would just wanted them to talk about the process and about, how they dealt with issues that are significant to them and felt that they were really difficult. They had to be creative, or what insights they had about the process and how successful they felt. I mean, those would be all questions, because I know so many, with talking to Liz and to Mickey, to different people as we started, we wondered, well, does this really matter? What's the impact of what we're doing? And yeah, so I would have, those would all be my questions.
So I hate to keep coming back to it, but I think it is really important, because we don't have that cohesiveness of the neighborhood being united on certain goals, that we do a survey and that we ask for, free-form input, not just, do you like this or not like this? Because that's certainly a source of creativity. But I think it's really important that we find out, are there trends among the various people that live in the town area that we should be paying attention to?
Right. Yeah, I agree.
Back to Marcia's concern, with a lifetime of frustration in trying to organize meetings, may I suggest, Henry, that you reach out to the chair of each of the 2 groups, say that we would like input from them, and whether the chair and one other, or the chair nominates somebody who's been a stalwart in their group to come meet with us. Then it goes into the agenda. It's part of the public record.
I just don't know how much good it's going to do, Lee. It's great, I guess, to talk to somebody who's been through the process before, but I just don't, well, it's worth discussion, I guess.
Yeah.
Well, the thing is that those groups are both, they've been around for a while. There's been an area plan for them. This is our first one.
Yes. And there's gonna be another one after we get done, and another one after that, and another one after that.
Mhm.
This doesn't have to be, and it's not gonna be 100% approved by everybody. We can just do the best we can.
Yep.
It's gonna change.
Mhm.
I wonder if it's possible after we complete our survey and have survey results. It will be summertime. I'm wondering if we can't have some sort of an open meeting and invite people who live in town and are here this summer to come and actually see a presentation of our survey results, and then invite them, if they haven't participated, to give their own feedback, so that we go one step further in getting input from the larger community of town area. Just a thought that just occurred to me.
No, it's a good idea. Mary.
Summer
has-
people like
has-
to have their, I'm just saying, summer people like to have their thoughts heard. They feel they're not heard, so it would give them that opportunity.
Mary Ann, I'm a firm believer in open meetings and public hearings. And if we call it a public hearing, I think it meets the OML requirements.
If there will even be one. Mary, have you heard anything about when Zoom is done?
So it is still authorized through July 15th, and we're waiting for the state legislature to do something more permanent.
I guess I see this also as another opportunity to maybe get membership in the Nantucket Town Association.
Yes,
Dues paying members and their opinions.
yes,
Right on.
great idea.
Okay. Quarter of, has anybody got anything else? Could I have a motion to adjourn?
Done. Lee moves.
Lee
I'll second.
and Mary, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
It's unanimous. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye. Have a good evening.
Goodbye.